And it's showtime. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I haven't done a live update in a few days. Forgive my hiccup, but it's time to get back on the road and start updating you about what the heck is going on in the Middle East. My name is Mansour, for those of you who don't know, and I'm an Israeli Druze, born, born and raised in Israel, former special forces in the IDF, an officer in the IDF, and also I have family in Israel, in Lebanon, in Syria, and contacts around the entire Middle East recently, especially rising. You know what? That's what happened when evil forces come and try to annihilate minorities. Minorities starts coming together, and you start having the Jews, the Kurds, the Druze, the Christians, and peaceful Muslims in the Middle East all coming uniting together. So me, myself, and many others like me are trying to give you the best update of what is happening. Now, this video, I gave it an interesting title, and it was very hard for me to make this title because I love Israel. And I never want to tell anyone, don't go and have a vacation in Israel. Never. And I'll explain because I think Israel is one of the greatest and safest countries in the world. I'm saying that with a hand on my heart, and I mean it. Living in Europe, I can tell you right now, Israel is safer for Arabs, not only for Jews, than probably most places in Europe or in the United States, because it's a very safe country internally. Externally, we have genocidal, suicidal, crazy enemies who are borderline death cult from a government level all the way down, many of them. And once in a while, they come and bring a little bit of a challenge that might make it a little bit not recommended to go to Israel for a vacation. Now, a few good friends of mine contacted me and came and told me, hey, listen, Mansour, I'm going to Israel. He's an Israeli. His wife is German. They have beautiful kids. And he said, ooh, these hiccups. And he came and he said, I'm a bit concerned. Should we cancel our trip or not? Now, given the circumstances that last time when I was in Israel, I got I got stuck. Well, these hiccups are good. I got stuck in the war, and I stayed at Andy and Batya's house. And if you remember the bunker's diary, where we were reporting to you from the bunker, we were getting shot, missiles and rockets on a daily basis, and we had to go and hide in the bomb shelters. And to me, it was a great experience, to be honest, and many Israelis. It was a bonding experience, and it was just a reminder of the reality we're living in. But Israelis are used to that, and we have a very good security system. But if you're a tourist, it might not be the easiest thing for you. It might actually be very shocking for you to go and be stuck right now in a country torn by war. And why am I saying that? So I told my friend, listen, I don't think it's a good advice right now to go with your family down to Israel. People are telling me to breathe out. Let's try that. Maybe drinking coffee is not the best thing. I think it's gone. It worked. Drinking coffee worked. So I told him, that's what I told him, and that's what I'm going to tell everybody here. If you're planning a vacation in Israel in the next few days, it's back. The hiccups are back. Just take in consideration that you might end up being stuck in Israel during a war. And if we will have a war with Iran, that means that airports will be closed and that you will be running to bomb shelters on a daily basis. If that's something that you're willing to risk, then, go for it. If not, not. And I'll explain why. You see, Iran has been slaughtering its citizens right now in the tens of thousands. Some saying the numbers are going all the way to more than 100,000. We're talking about the biggest genocide in the history of recent modern days, in a scale that has never been seen before. So many days dying and so many people dying in such a short time that it's just mind-blowing. It's crazy what is happening there. Now, they did that after Donald Trump came and warned them and told them, hands off the Iranians. Now, I think with all respect to Donald Trump, if you compare it to, let's say, when Bibi came and said hands off the Druze in Syria, he actually stood by it. And even though America, with the leadership of Tom Barak, was trying to prevent Israel from saving the Druze and to allow a massacre just like it's happening right now to the Kurds. We can talk about Tom Barak later on. I have crazy conspiracy theories about it. If you want to tread into the conspiracy theory forest, that's a good one. Ooh, that was a good hiccup. So America told Israel to stand down. Israel still went and saved the Druze. Now we have Donald Trump telling the Iranians, we got your back. We won't let them slaughter you, and go out and take names. Like literally, he said that. I'm not even this. I've said that. To many Iranians, that was the sign that finally they have the big brother behind them. What their government kept telling them as the big devil, they saw it as the big brother, and Israel as the small brother, not the big devil and the small devil. Because they're friends of America, they're friends of Israel. The young generation, the Gen Z of Iran, is a big lover of the West, and they dream to one day have the life like the West. So they went to the streets and they started getting slaughtered in the hundreds, in the tens of thousands, if not even more than 100,000. Donald Trump America started sending aircraft carriers and getting their forces ready to invade. But all of a sudden, there's a change of plans. Now, this could be a diversion, and maybe they want to get ready to make that war more efficient, more fast, more deadly, and with less casualties. And maybe he's actually trying to get himself out of what he promised and trying to see how can he do that in a way that will not stain his name. That could be. But either way, if you end up traveling to Israel, and let's say if there will be an attack, it's not going to be declared with trumpets and you go with drums like the British forces or the American forces in the Independence War. It's going to be a blitz. It's going to be a surprise attack. It's going to involve if America will do it by itself, then we'll have to establish the connection CIA-wise on the ground and special forces, Delta Force, Navy SEALs, and bring it with stealth bombers and aircraft and establish air dominance, first of all, and then ground and naval and etc. Most likely they will ask Israel to help them, and Israel's interest is to help them, and that will make their job probably like a million times easier because Israel has already been getting ready for that war. So they have, all the contacts in the Mossad and the names and the intelligence. So if they will do that, then it will be a surprise attack. It will be an attack that will come so fast, so surprising, probably in the middle of the night, in the moment that you're not expecting. And if you came for Israel for vacation, your vacation might end up look a bit different. That's all I'm saying. So I felt that my responsibility was towards my friend is just to tell him the truth. He still decided he want to go and travel, which I respect. But, I said what I said. Last time when I was there, I literally had to get out of the country so I can come to my kid's graduation from the kindergarten. And I had to be smuggled out of the country on a German Luftwaffe. That's the German military airplane. Don't ask me how and where I got there. I wasn't a German citizen. I wasn't supposed to be in that airplane, but I was in the Woo! These hiccups are good. I was in the airplane and I got out of the country. And thank God I was able to come and join my kid for his graduation from the kindergarten, which was a big thing for him and for me. Otherwise, I would have stayed. I loved it there. And I think it was important also to report with boots on the ground in Israel. But let's just watch something that we've been hearing about this recent development that happened. And then we're going to open. How many beers did I have? Nothing, man. I wish. I wish. Life of a father. Not as beer as I was before. Thank you so much. Oh my God. Look at the logo of Don 11V25TH. 2B, Dawn 11B25. Palestinian, like a fist holding a dildo. I'm sure the Palestinian would love to adopt that as their new flag. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate that. Let's watch this video right now, and then people are sure that I'm drinking here like fun. And let's see, and let's talk about it. Starts from here.
Have people who are afraid to go to the hospital because our hospitals have occupying paramilitary forces.
Let me be very blunt, and I'm going to just say it. The greatest threat to the homeland right now is called the Department of Homeland Security. Unidentified
People are
masked
so
men
delusional.
are kidnapping people off the streets based solely on their accent or their appearance.
Democrats doubling down on their anti-ICE rhetoric as a partial government shutdown hits day 4. Many House Democrats are demanding a dramatic overhaul to DHS.
Yeah,
with
these
any
guys
funding
won't
bill to move
identify
forward.
a threat.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt is with us now.
Let's see if this is now about
Now for our private briefing. And Caroline, we bid good Tuesday afternoon to you. I want to get into all of the machinations on Capitol Hill in just a second, but we've got some breaking news. The breaking news is that CENTCOM confirms that a U.S. F-35 fighter jet shot down an Iranian Shahed drone that was making an aggressive approach toward the USS Abraham Lincoln. This on the same day that a couple of Iranian gunboats were threatening a U.S.-flagged tanker in the Gulf of the Persian Gulf, threatening to board it. So what is going on, to the best of your knowledge?
what is going on.
What is the president going to do about what appear to be some threatening moves being made by Iran, even as Steve Witkoff prepares to meet with the foreign minister, Aragchi, either in Oman or Turkey on Friday?
Well, sure, John, and thank you for having me today. I did speak with folks over at the Pentagon this morning who said that CENTCOM acted both appropriately and necessarily to protect our U.S. personnel and equipment in the region. So CENTCOM did make the decision to shoot down that Iranian drone. It was unmanned. It was acting aggressively towards our USS Lincoln, which we know that aircraft carrier is in the region at the direction of President Trump. As for the president, he remains committed to always pursuing diplomacy first. But in order for diplomacy to work, of course, it takes two to tango. You need a willing partner to engage. And so that's something the president and Special Envoy Witkoff are exploring and discussing right now. Special Envoy Witkoff is set to have conversations with the Iranians later this week. Those are still scheduled as of right now. But of course, the president has always a range of options on the table, and that includes the use of military force.
Let me stop right here. I feel like they're always trying to get themselves out of this and to make it look like it's more. So they're always probing and testing the water because someone is telling him that he shouldn't attack. And I strongly think that this is being intervened by Turkey and Saudi Arabia and coming from Tom Barak. I have a strong feeling that it's coming from there. Because Tom Barak, by the way, for those who don't know, he was almost arrested in the past for alleged ties to be an agent for a foreign government that was spying on its own government, like for Saudi Arabia. And if you go to the Department of Justice website, you can find actually he's been called there as someone who's untrustworthy, someone who is very compromised, someone who is borderline working as an agent for another country and who's trying to put agendas on the table of Donald Trump that are United Arab Emirates agendas, Saudi Arabians agendas, sorry, and not American agendas. And he is also a very strong friend of Turkey and Qatar. And he is right now trying to basically shape the Middle East in the image of Turkey and Qatar and Saudi Arabia, and not in the image of, let's say, Israel or America. Let's put Israel on the side even. For a very long time, the allies of America were not Turkey and Al-Qaeda. So I feel like Tom Barak right now is quite behind the scene as well here, with maybe other forces that are trying to prevent. But look what here. they're saying that in Iran, that's what they're saying. The American attack seems to actually going away. Witkoff will talk in Israel with Netanyahu, the head of the Mossad, and the president of Iran announced of agreement for a negotiation with the United States, but only if it will be the right environment and without threats. As per Wall Street Journal, one direction will talk about the nuclear power and the other one with other things that they want to discuss. But Iran is resisting the talk about the missiles and about its proxies. You know, I've been hearing it from Iranians, and I've been seeing quite a lot of posts coming and saying, we did not go in the streets and sacrificed more than 100,000 people. Imagine, that is 100,000 civilians that died. That's bigger than some cities, just perished, erased in the most horrific way, that went and tried to take over a government with a military and a regime that is, regimes like Iran and like these countries are not like America, Israel, or Europe. Their defense capabilities are not trained and honed and aimed to defend them from outside. They're actually first more aimed to defend them from their own people, because it's oppressive dictatorship. So most of their power is focused first and for all, how can we oppress our own people? How can we forever prevent them from uprising and taking power from us? And then how can we deal with the other external threats that are around us? Because these are not democratically elected forces that are there to protect their people. They're there to oppress their people and to use it for their own gain. So they're very good at oppressing their own people. And they've killed more than 100,000 people. And all of a sudden, for them to hear that Trump is going to sit and try to negotiate a deal about the nuclear capabilities, why do you need to do that? You could have completely eliminated that deal a few months ago. Just let Israel finish the job. Literally, there was no need for that on the table. There was no need. Israel was there, Mossad was there, Air Force was there, Special Force was there. The Iranians were literally running in the streets. Mossad agents were running in the streets, hunting Iranian government officials and generals freely. John Wick style. They were just running around John Wicking them right, left, and center. Kabam, kabam, going around with their Iranian brothers and sisters, going around freedom, viva la revolution, going around in Farsi. And all of a sudden, stop, guys, get out of here. America found a deal. And like, why did you stop it there? So now you want to go and talk? I thought the talk was to take down the regime. So the Iranians are getting very, very frustrated with how they see that things are shifting all of a sudden. Because again, the elites and the forces of this world seems to not be interested in defeating radical Islam. And that is something that is very concerning. So let's keep hearing what you have to say, because I find it very interesting. I haven't watched this, so we're going to watch this together.
Know that better than anyone. Just look no further than the highly successful Operation Midnight Hammer, which took not just Iran, but the entire world by surprise and completely obliterated their nuclear capabilities earlier last year.
Oh my God,
Caroline,
I can't.
we look forward
I
to
can't.
follow up on that.
I can't with that. I mean, come on, guys. I love America. I really love America. And I think in terms of an external policy, everything that Trump have done so far made sense to me, and I understand it. Even wanting to take Greenland, I can understand where he's coming. You know, going and invading Venezuela and taking down Maduro. I understand that in terms of America, from an American point of view. I'm not saying I support everything they do, but I understand it. The only thing I never really understood until now is what is he doing in Syria and what's going on with Iran. So now everybody know that Midnight Hammer was not an American success. With all due respect, you know, maybe we should say it was. Maybe we should say it was, because then it will be good for the ego, and maybe they'll wanna, I don't know, like, but like, am I the only one that actually know that it was Israel? Like, almost by itself, and then Mossad did it, and then Israel told them, "Hey guys, do you want to take part? Come, bring a bomber. We'll let you go." Israel could have done it, seriously. So, and by the way, that bomber and that bunker buster was built for that purpose, was literally built for that particular mountain and particular purpose. So that was on the agenda of America. So to come now and to steal all the credit, it's like, It's a bit embarrassing, I would say. I don't know. Maybe the Americans actually don't know because they're not aware of what is happening. So they think like, yeah, look what we did, and they believe it. But I would be ashamed to come and say as if it was our success and not even mention that. Come on, guys, Israel did everything, the heavy lifting.
Meanwhile, you heard as we were leading into you this continued anti-ICE rhetoric that is coming from Democrats on the Hill. Democrats claiming that DHS is the greatest threat to American security. You heard from one of them just a moment ago.
Who care about these
This
Democrats
is
and
the
ICE?
Senate Police. We'll get your reaction.
Their ID is clear on, and no one thinks.
Honestly, nobody care about these
The White House response to that.
weirdos.
I think it's incredibly irresponsible for elected Democrats, legitimate law and criminal illegal aliens to the American.
All right, they're talking about
forced,
ICE
and I
now.
know complaints.
I was covering that back in 2013,
Yes, you were.
2014, and I do not remember, to the best of my knowledge.
You know what, guys?
Yes,
Here's the thing. Here's what I think about this whole ICE and the whole Democrat thing. I'm going to summarize it very, very easily. Every time that I think that Democrats in America cannot disappoint me more, some of them comes and says, hold my latte soy milk, cappuccino, frappuccino glass for a second, and let me show how can I disappoint them more. They were so active when Israel was trying to defeat a terrorist organization like Hamas. They were so active trying to save the skin of Hamas. They were so active when they were trying to follow false claims of starvation and genocide in Gaza, which everybody knows it didn't happen. Like literally, you can watch right now videos. There's a lot of fat Gazans. If you want to see how does starvation look when there is a genocide, watch images of World War II of the Jews and other survivors from the concentration camps. Gay people, gypsies, and other minorities who came out of these genocidal Holocaust concentration camps. So we know that they can be in the streets. We know that they can go and jump for a cause. Very good. Actually, they can do that better than anyone. They literally have paid protesters and they have like a whole very well-oiled machine. So now when they don't have anything to protest about, and America's trying to crack down on some Somalis mostly, but other minorities that are scamming the United States and threatening the demographics of the United States, and like literally people who are thieves and pedophiles. Forgive my French. Meanwhile, at the same time, in Iran, they're slaughtering more than 100,000 innocent young civilians. Western, if you look at the way they think, the way they behave, the way they want to dress, they're very much like us. Not a single protest. All about ICE. ICE is the biggest threat to America and all this stuff. So it seems to me like either they can't think for themselves and they have to be always told by someone who should they hate now, or they're just completely flipped and they really on the other side. They really think that Iran are the good guys, Palestinians are the good guys, Hamas are the good guys, and America are the bad guys. And they want to go against the government. Like I see no third option here. But anyway, that's some madness by itself. Let's go back right now. I want to finish with something very interesting that have caught my mind. I told you I'm going to take you down the conspiracy theory forest. We're going to tread on some conspiracy ground in the swamp of the Middle East. So, Tom Barak have some ties with the Trump family for more than 40 years already. A lot of shady business ties in the Middle East, mostly in the Arab world. He was born in Lebanon. He have been indicted and not indicted, but he have been confirmed by the United States intelligence as a threat to America and someone that can't be trusted. Heavily compromised. And then Donald Trump needs him. He comes and he raises more than $109 million to help him. Nobody really knows where that money came from. A lot of question marks. Maybe it came from Saudi Arabia, from Qatar. And now he kind of owed them a little bit. And all of a sudden, he is the one dictating how the Middle East is going to look like. And all of a sudden, for the first time in history, America is taking the advice of Muslim countries. Some of them are fanatic Muslim countries, and some of them are literally terrorist organizations like Al Qaeda, over the advice of Israel, over the advice of Christians who are being slaughtered in the Middle East and other minorities that are allies, like the Kurds. If anyone would want the Middle East to look in any kind of Muslim image, that would be the Kurds. That's the Muslim image you want the Middle East to look like. They don't hate America. They don't hate Israel. They're progressive. They respect women. They respect women more than the West, even. They have very much peaceful values, and they're not fanatic religious. So all of a sudden, they get betrayed, and they're being slaughtered right now. And Tom Barak is trying to convince the world that it's the right move for America. And now he's going to be also doing the same thing with Iraq. But all of a sudden, the Epstein list comes out. And that's where the conspiracy starts. In the Epstein list, you see that Tom Barak was directly involved in a possibility of the entire child trafficking and child sexual abuse ring of Epstein, to the level that they're having friendly conversations about it. And it looks like Epstein is trying to gain his trust again by telling him, hey, you can trust me. And then they're corresponding. And at a certain point, he tells him, send me a picture with you with a kid. Let me smile. What do you think is that? I mean, we know that Epstein was kidnapping children, was torturing children, and was coercing children to commit indecent acts with billionaires and elitists of the world. And then Tom Barak is sending him, messages, and they're talking about these children and to smile. And at the same time, we find out that in the Epstein list, there was a mention that most of the children that were smuggled into the Epstein Island for these acts, which some are saying included also human sacrifice and torture. So there is people, satanic people, that wanted to go there and maybe do things to the children, then torture them, and then kill them, and some even say eat them. So crazy stuff are happening, and Tom Barak seems to be quite, in the middle of things here. And then we find out that it's also coming from Turkey. That about $200 million worth of little children was kidnapped and smuggled through Turkey into the United States. Now, I tell you something. Turkey have one of the strongest, most efficient, intelligent forces in the Middle East, if not in the world. They're very good. They're top there. They're very on their game. Do you think they did not know about that? That this is happening? Do you think Tom Barak did not know about that? All of a sudden, he thinks there's someone who is willing to do things like that to children. Allegedly, again, conspiracy, we're treading in the conspiracy world. Someone who is allegedly willing to torture kids, do indecent things with them, and even execute them. Do you think he's going to have a problem to close deals for profit that will end up in wars, that will end up in the death of many people in the Middle East? I think that's something that's going to bother him. I think morally, he will say, that's not the moral thing to do. I should not take America to side with Al Qaeda over Israel. I should not support Syria that is massacring Christians, Kurds, and Druze, and Alawites and Yazidis, and convince them to join ISIS. Literally, they're having ISIS patches. So it's just a thought, like, how sinister is that? And then you come and you say, how the heck would the Trump administration give something so important like the Middle East into the hands of someone that is so heavily compromised like Tom Barak? Someone that have clear ties to Epstein, to the child trafficking scandal, someone who have been already proven to be not trustworthy, highly compromised, with ties to foreign Muslim governments. And all of a sudden you think, hey, I got an idea. Let's give him that. Let's give him the thing he wants the most, where he can make more money and create more chaos, and even possibly get more little children smuggled and abducted for the pleasure of the elites. Let's give him that. That sounds like a good idea. Hey, who is the best guy for that? Tom Barack. Let's give him like. So then you ask yourself, we know that Donald Trump have built a very strong team. I'll admit it. He have built a very strong team around him in some aspects. And a lot of his nomination of people made way, like extremely. I know some of the people on the left now are going, yeah, look at that. Mansour's joined. I know, guys, I didn't join you. You guys are so far-fetched delusional. I did not join you. Get over it. The left have made a clown show of politics. They're probably one of the most dangerous things for the stability of this planet. Every time America have a left-wing democratical president, planet Earth take 4 steps toward a nuclear apocalypse. Every time America bring in Republican, they take 2 steps back. And it keeps playing that way. They literally, when the liberals are ruling, at least, since Obama. Before Obama, there was some sense. But since Obama, it's been like a downfall of madness. So Donald Trump have came and put a little bit more sense into the administration in my eyes, at least in the terms of military and security and border and economy and stuff like that. But then come Syria, the Middle East, Turkey, Qatar, Saudi Arabia. And then Epstein files come out. And what do we find out? That Qatar is involved in it. Saudi Arabia is involved in it. Tom Barack is involved in it. Donald Trump is just, trying to get himself as far away from it because he's mentioned there like dozens of times, so many times. And these people are just doing whatever they want. So my question is, do they have something on him? Do they have something on him, on the government, on other elites that is compromising the ability of that administration to do the right thing in the Middle East? And how am I bringing it back? How am I bringing it back? Kushner is the same. Also, people are mentioning Kushner as well. I'm going to make a whole episode about that. How do I bring it home? Why are we not taking Iran? It's the right thing to do. Why are we not taking down that regime? It's the right thing to do. Morally, strategically, politically, it's the right thing to do. It's a genocidal, extremely religious, borderline Nazi barbarian, fanatic regime that won a nuclear bomb that is willing to massacre all of its people. Imagine what it will do to others. And Israel have weakened them. Israel have literally weakened all the enemies of America and Israel in the Middle East, all of them, same time. Israel jumped into a UFC ring against 7 opponents and beat the crap out of all of them alone, almost. With a little bit of support in the background, like someone threw a towel, gave them a bottle of water, and kind of, threw some words. Yeah, keep doing that, gave them a Gatorade, drink some Gatorade, energy, keep back in the fight. But Israel did it. And then everybody stopped Israel. And now when that regime, that Middle East is so close to have a real change that might affect lives of generations to come, the down of the Iranian regime, the weakening of the radical Sunni and Shia ideology, the strengthening of the Kurds, which is a peaceful Islamic ideology that is not rooted ideology in religion, but rather in, nationalism, strengthening minorities like the Druze, like the Christians, like the Alawites, creating a Lebanon, which is Christian, creating Syria, which is Christian, Druze, and other, Kurds and others, and even Muslims. Let them be Sunnah by themselves. Let them have their own jihadist sandbox where they can play their jihadist games with goats and camels. But like literally, we're so close, guys, to achieve real peace in the Middle East, and peace by strength and by unity with the good guys. How do you think the world defeated Nazi Germany? Because they stood very strong and they defeated them and they crushed them. So we're so close to crush these forces of evil. And all of a sudden, it's all coming to stop. And there's weird, shady stuff that are coming. And then comes Epstein files. And all of a sudden, they're involved in it. So it makes you wonder. What else is there that we don't know, and what else is happening behind the scene? Because a lot of times you can know that something is not right when the answer is so clear, yet it's not been said out loud, or the path is so obvious but yet no one is walking it. Then it tells you something. There's something behind the scene that we're missing. And it is something that might cost the life of many, many Iranians. I want to say thank you to Marcelico93 for gifting 5 months of Ashkar memberships. That's very kind of you. People are saying here money is having a very big part here, for sure. Now, I know I might have pissed some diehard Republicans, diehard Democrats, and I'm sorry, guys. I'm not here to piss you off. I'm not here to make your life uncomfortable. But there's one thing. I have not sworn allegiance to any man on this earth. I'm not a Bibist, a Trumpist, a Kamalaist, a Bidenist, or an Obamaist. I respect people for who they are, what they do, and how they act. And if someone needs to be criticized in my eyes, I will criticize it. And if someone needs to have credit, I will give credit. And I'm always disappointed when I see influencers that all of a sudden are like so diehard protect their side. You shouldn't, guys, because you know what? It's silly. I think the people here on this channel, we're starting our own movement here where we're not going to be following these things, because we all know that these politicians will give us away, will throw us under the bus without even thinking. They don't even know us. Like, to be a die-hard politician for someone that doesn't know you, that will undoubtedly throw you out of the bus, like, easy will sacrifice you. Easy. Doesn't matter who, guys. That's politicians for you, most of them. So you should never be a die-hard fan of any politicians. Politicians are here to actually serve you, not you to serve them. That is something that is very important to put it out there. Politicians are elected in democracy to serve us and not us to serve them. And if they are moral and dignified and brave and strong and wise and smart and doing the job right, so good. They are worthy of our respect. They are worthy of our attention. They're worthy of our admiration. Great. But if they don't do it, then we should not be die-hard protecting them. It's that simple. Dire Wolf R2D2 want me to criticize him. Well, you have the name of a DDT, we call it. It's that thing that repel bugs in Israel. It's very good. No, that's not DDT, actually. You have the name of, how do you call it? It's actually a great thing. I started with a bug repellent. I'm going to take that away. I'm not going to criticize you for being a bug repellent. WD-40. That's what you gave me the vibe here. WD-40 solves a lot of problems. So I hope that you will be a WD-40 in your life, which can solve almost anything in your life except for things that you should be eating. So please do not do that at home. I found WD-40 a great thing. So I don't know why Dire Wolf remind me of WD-40, but I just criticize you from being DDT to WD-40. So I hope you're happy with the criticism. Someone knew my DDT analogy. Most people will probably not know that. I'm surprised that my generation is still alive. You know how much DDT we had in our house? Yeah, every time you say the word lubricant, I don't know where you're taking that, buddy. So I'm just going to ignore it. But you still have a lot of political smart comments, so we like you. Someone called me a wizard. Yeah, please text me on Patreon and we can talk about it. For those of you who don't know, if you want to talk to me more and more directly, you can always find me on Patreon, where I give more attention to the people that are following me there and supporting me there. And also, if you want to help support this channel, go to Patreon. Great deals. You can start from $3 a month all the way up to the schlag, which started as a joke. I once walked and crossed, it's called Yam Leyam. I crossed Israel from sea to sea in a hike with a bunch of one Arab, 2 Jews. One is an Ashkenazi and one is a born and raised in Israel. and myself, the Druze, and we crossed the land of Israel from the ocean to the Sea of Galilee. And we decided to read the Bible, and we started debating the whole idea: does the New Testament allow you to have more than one wife? You know, they were teenagers, 17 years old. We were just joking about it. We said, let's pick a topic, and so let's discuss that. So we started reading: does the New Testament allow you to have more than one wife? And I'm going to leave that as a quiz. What do you think, guys? New Testament allow you to have more than one wife? Bring it on. First one is going to put the right answer. I'm going to put it up. Islam allows you. We know that. Does the New Testament allow you? Someone says no. All right. Who says yes? Anyone says yes? Does the New Testament allow you to have more than one wife? People are saying no here. All right. We have another no by Geraldine001. It didn't really say, but no. Only if you're divorced. Well, let me break it to you guys. Surprise, surprise. It allows. You are allowed to have more than one wife. But you know what? You cannot be a pastor if you have more than one wife. So it did not, and it's also ill-advised. It's considered ill-advised to have more than one wife. And if you have more than one wife, then you cannot. That's part of the criteria to be a pastor, a leader of a church, you should not be easy to anger, a man of his fist, and married to more than one wife. So that's part of the criteria. Let me bring it out for you, the verse, so we can close this argument once and for all. At the same time, guys. Yes, it's at the same time. I'll bring you the verse exactly. My ChatGPT is being sleepy. Sorry, yeah, not ChatGPT. His name is Ranfield. Ranfield is a bit slow today. Well, why Ranfield is pulling it out? Yeah. Don't believe it? We'll find. Nice drumming. It's my keyboard. Don't believe it? We'll find in a second. Come on, Ranfield. What's going on with you? You know what? I can do it here, actually, and then I can show you the answer even. Ooh, wrong one. Where in the New Testament is mentioned you're allowed to have more than one wife, or reference to that? Let's see. I think ChatGPT worldwide is having a strike right now. Sorry, Ranfield. So we'll come back to that when he brings the answer. But yes, I am 99.7% certain that someone is saying AI is wrong. It's in the Bible, guys. I've read it. I've read it several times. And it said several times. Well, by the way, King Solomon had more than one wife. He had like 1,000 wives. David had more than one wife. So it's not something that the Bible is against it in terms of it's a big, big no-no. It's something that was practiced a lot in Judaism, especially in the early days. And later on, it was just considered as a very ill-advised. Did ChatGPT had a break? We'll try that. Sorry, Ranfield, not ChatGPT. You know what? We'll do it audio. That's the best one. Hey, Ranfield, tell me, where in the New Testament is mentioned that you are allowed to have more than one wife, or a reference to that?
The New Testament doesn't endorse having more than one wife. In fact, it tends to assume monogamy. For example, when the Apostle Paul talks about leadership in the church, he says an elder or overseer should be the husband of one wife. So there's no passage that encourages polygamy.
But is there any place that says you're not allowed to, or that it's a sin to have more than one wife?
The New Testament doesn't have a direct command that says, you shall not have more than one wife. Instead, it emphasizes monogamy as the assumed norm. Jesus, when discussing marriage, refers back to the creation story, how two become one flesh. Paul does the same, and in roles like elders or deacons, he specifies the husband of one wife. So it's more a pattern of emphasizing one-to-one commitment rather than calling polygamy a specific sin.
All right, so it says if you have more than one wife, then you can't be a church elder, right? If you want to be church elder, you cannot have more than one wife.
Yes, that's the implication. In passages like 1 Timothy and Titus, when Paul outlines the qualities of church leaders, he says they should be the husband of one wife. That doesn't say multiple wives are inherently sinful for others, but it does disqualify someone from being an elder if they have more than one wife.
So that's exactly my point, that if you want to be an elder or a church leader, that's when it says you can't. If you have more than one wife, you can't. But then it was also encouraged many times that it's just ill-advised, but it didn't say you're not allowed to, because that's something very interesting that a lot of people don't know about the New Testament. So I think me and some people here were on the same. I'm not encouraging that. Not encouraging that, guys. I don't think it's a wise idea to have more than one wife. I think in general, relationship and partnerships are just much better one-on-one, and having a very simple, old traditional family cell, it just works. I grew up like this. A lot of people grew up like this, and it just works when you have a father and a mother and children, and things are very clear in the house. It makes life way more simple, so it's much, much more advised to stay like that. No, Druze don't allow this, by the way. Did you know that AI is rewriting the Bible? I'm sure that AI would love to rewrite the Bible. That's why I carry my hard copy of the Bible that I had with me through almost everywhere. And I highly recommend you have your own version of the Bible that you read and take notes. And in general, just have, read books. I remember one time I came to a new unit and I was sleeping on a bunk bed in a bunker. And out of my free time, I was then really studying the Jewish Bible. And there was a Russian Israeli soldier that came and he just looked at me and he started laughing. You're reading the Bible. Are you so stupid? This is like, I can't believe it. And he started laughing. This is so funny. You read the Bible. And then I looked at him and I says, wow, what do you think I should read? He said, read Dostoevsky, read Shakespeare, read, why you read the Bible? And I said, well, with all due respect, this book have changed the life of planet Earth as we know it, more than any of the writers that you just mentioned right now. It brought us the faith in one God. It brought us later on Judaism, Christianity, Islam came out of this. Every single religion almost that walks the earth today was affected in a way or another by this book and the people that wrote in it. And it brought us eventually what we see today as democracy, freedom, human rights, Judeo-Christian values. So I think it's a little bit worth my time to read the book that have affected planet Earth more than any other book ever written. So I don't find that so funny. And he was just, and like, it is. In the end of the day, it is. If it wasn't for the Bible, if it wasn't for Judaism, then who knows where we'd be today. And I'm saying that as a Druze. So I think it is a good book to read if you want to understand humanity. And I'd highly recommend that. I went and studied psychology and studied other stuff to understand humanity, but a good start point would be to read the Bible. And did I read the Quran? Yes, I read the Quran. It's made up and it's rewriting history backwards, and it's just having a lot of holes, with all due respect, And it's much, much easier to see that it was a made up kind of religious book compared to the Bible, the Old and the New Testament. They're much more walking with each other and completing each other, and are much more historically accurate. And also they stayed in their own path. They're much more focused on theology and philosophy And they were not trying to propaganda-wise change back and rewrite history. The Quran is full on rewriting back history to make it make sense for its followers, to give them justification to commit the things that they're doing. So that is my opinion, and I've tried to argue with some Muslims about it in a friendly way, and it always turned into violence and anger, and they don't know how to argue about it. While I did have a lot of arguments with religious Jews, Christian religious as well, a lot, where we sat and we just literally have a bonfire, sit around and talk until the morning, sleeping in the desert, and then we'll go swim and fish or I don't know what, and come back, and we'll just keep discussing as we hike. And it was always beautiful discussions, and many times we did not agree. We agreed to not disagree. But when it came with Muslims, it always went to the point that either violence, or I knew that they will try to murder me unless there was law and order to protect me, because I challenged them for simple historical facts. So to those who asked, yes, I read all 3 books, and I was always very interested in religion. But anyway, guys, we spoke enough. Someone said the Geneva Bible came before King James. America was founded on the Geneva Bible. King James was a corrupt king and murdered many Christians. I'll have to study that in depth. I'm not aware of how much his translation was deformed. I read the Bible in Hebrew most of the time, and I read it in different English translations. One of them was King James as well. So I'm not sufficiently knowledgeable about what he just said here, so I'm not just pretend that I know. But I do know that it's important to read it, if you can, in the original language, because at least the parts were written in Hebrew. It's quite easy to access it today and read it in Hebrew. Some parts were written in Aramaic. It's important to understand it also in Aramaic. For example, I'll give you a freebie, and we can finish with that. The name of Jesus Christ was Yeshua. They called him Yeshua Mashiach. Mashiach means anointed. Limshoch is to anoint. He used to anoint a king by putting oil on him and anointing him as a king. So he was the anointed Messiah. That's, Yeshua HaMashiach, HaMoshiach. And when the Greeks were trying to understand who is this guy, it was very hard for them to say the word Yeshua. So they came with Jesus. It was easier. And when they tried to think about how should be the nickname, they came with Christos, which is the anointed one, which is also the oily one. Because Yeshua is not Arabic. It's Hebrew. In Arabic is Yeshua, maybe. Yeah, so they came with the name Christos, the oily one. So that's Jesus Christ. So I'm not saying that anyone who's praying the name of Jesus Christ is not doing it right. The intention means, but just to let you know, the name came from Hebrew. Yeshua is Hebrew. Yeshua is Hebrew. Yeshua is Hebrew as well, just to keep you updated. Yeshua is Hebrew. Yeshua is a word in Hebrew, and Aramaic had a lot of Hebrew roots in it. Yeshua is also, by the way, was mentioned in the Bible way before. You had Yeshua ben Nun, and you had others, Joshua and Yeshua, and different variation from the word Lehoshia, which is to save, salvation, Hoshana b'moromim. That's a song in Hebrew. Anyway, so that's just, an interesting way to understand that language matters, because language have in it culture, especially when it came to prophecies. When it came to prophecies, you have no idea how important was language, because the prophets were so proficient in the language, the Hebrew language. It's like they were writing pieces of art, like Shakespeare wrote and others, was really artistic, and every word had depth to it, and meaning and connection to different parts of history, of religion, of philosophy, of the culture, that it was very important to understand it in the original text. So that's why if we go right now to the theology of salvation, we're going to finish with that. We just went here like completely Bible study. But if you go into the theology, Google it. Google it. I am Greek and I disagree. It wasn't Greek. Google it. If we go into the theology of salvation, the theology is very simple. Believe in God, the Christian salvation. Believe in God, believe in his Son, accept his Holy Spirit, ask for forgiveness for your sin, get baptized, and that's it, you're saved. So the salvation was always a very, very simple, most simple theology ever. It shouldn't be complicated. Any child can accept it and understand it. That was the whole idea of the Christian story of salvation. But in-depth reading and understanding the scripture, yeah, man. Ancient Greek, it's probably not the same Greek you'll have today when you go and buy euros or here, Turkish Greek shawarma in the shop, but it's very interesting. Google it. If someone want to challenge what I said, more than welcome. What I studied, at least, that was what we learned and studied about it. Anyway, guys, I want to say, yeah, ancient Greek is different. I want to say thank you for sticking around. We're going to try to keep you more updated about what is happening. My prayers are with the people in Iran. My prayers are with the Kurds right now and every minority that is oppressed in the Middle East, regardless of what religion you're in. Every human, every child that is being oppressed, that is being dealt unjustness. I pray that really that the forces of good will come together and overcome the forces of darkness. But also, let's not be naive and think that this is always going to be, because through the history of mankind, we had more times of darkness and times of light. Let's be honest. Just read history and you'll realize that. And the fact that we just had a few good years now of peace and stability does not mean that this is a status quo, and it does not mean that this is going to stay if we don't do anything about it. The world can plunge into 100 years of darkness, if even 1,000 years of darkness, misery, terrible state, if we don't take the responsibility to stand up against it. Iran is the greatest case study to what happened to a young generation when their parents allow radical Islam to come in their midst unchecked and don't resist it and kick it out of the door. Then their children or their grandchildren will die one day in the streets trying to get free out of it. This could have been stopped 45 years ago by the Iranian people if they would have not allowed Khomeini and weird radical left anarchists and ancient woke ideology to be mixed with ancient jihad ideology, and together they fooled the whole nation and brought it to its knees, and today it's suffering these sins of their grandparents that allowed it to happen. It's our responsibility today, so we make sure that our children will not live in the same state like Iran is. I can tell you for a certain certainty, the UK is heading there. Their children and grandchildren are going to grow up in a very different UK than what they're growing in right now. They're not going to be watching Aslan and reciting Harry Potter in school plays in 20 years from now. They're not. They're going to be shouting Allahu Akbar, Takbir, Takbir, Haybar, Haybar, Ya Yahud, and they're going to be stoning women for adultery and plotting about how they can invade nearby countries. That's what's going to happen to the UK in 25 years. One generation is gone. That's it. So, and then maybe 2 generations later, you'll see young British people, same like today, having 3, 4, 5 different VPNs, 3 different identities, like every young man right now and woman in Iran. That's how they grow, with different identities and VPNs, and always trying to hide their identity and thinking how can they break free from this oppression. And that's what's going to happen to the children of the UK and of France, the ones that will look back and says, we want to go back to these lives. We want to go back to going and watching the cinema and having school proms and plays and just having discos and going to the beach and allowing girls to go to school. So their children, that's what they're going to have to do unless someone steps in. And stepping in, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to leave that, I'm going to drop this here. Stepping in looks like ice. Let that sink in. Stepping in and trying to save your country from invasion disguised as migration will usually end up looking like ice. You can handle it better, not so better, but there won't be any nice way to do it once it's too late. So stay safe. See you next time.